The University of Miami Law School Entertainment Arts and Sports Law program presents the Leadership Game Plan. I'm executive producer and program director Greg Levy, and now over to our host, longtime NFL coordinator, head coach, three-time Grey Cup champion, NCAA champion with the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Law graduate, and now adjunct faculty member, Coach Marc Trestman.
I believe that everyone can lead, no matter who you are or what you do. I believe, just like quarterbacks, leaders are not born, they are developed. With so many platforms to speak our minds, there are countless ways to lead and impact the lives of others. So how we lead in this accelerating and interconnected world will determine our present and our future. That's why leadership today matters more than ever. Welcome to the Leadership Game Plan, where we go beyond the X's and O's through the unique lens of our accomplished guests. I'm your host, Marc Trestman, and let's get started.
And so honestly, I don't even know if I can. I don't know how you do that. I don't even know if I can give you an advice on what I believe you could have done or what you can do to be an ultimate leader, because to me, you did it. And it's really about, because like when you come in as a coach, like it's important for any leader to, like, for people to embrace change and to rally.
Many know Brandon Marshall as a former NFL wide receiver drafted in the 4th round, the 119th pick by the Denver Broncos in the 2006 NFL Draft. During Brandon's 13 NFL seasons, he made 6 Pro Bowl appearances, amassed over 12,000 career receiving yards, 80-plus touchdowns, and holding the NFL record for the most receptions in a game. I had the pleasure of coaching Brandon in Chicago, where he excelled on the field, but as I got to know him, I could tell there was so much more to this man. I found Brandon to be uniquely intelligent. I've watched him grow into a loving husband and father, a mental fitness advocate, and now CEO of a very successful fitness company, the House of Athlete in South Florida. Brandon's life journey from football player to business leader, national broadcast figure, and a leading content creator of his I Am Athlete podcast and YouTube channel that now reaches nearly 1 million in subscribers. In a very short time after his retirement, Brandon has demonstrated an incredible ability to learn and to grow into being a successful mentor, a leader, and an advocate in our community. Early in Brandon's career, he was given the nickname The Beast. Nothing gives me more pride than to see the beast on the field transition to the beast in the boardroom.
On part 2, Marc and Brandon talk football, the leadership of quarterbacks Brandon has played with, and their time with the Chicago Bears.
We're football junkies, so I just want to talk about 2 guys that you played with, because I think they were both great leaders, but you know them intimately. I know one of them well. I don't know one of them.
I can guess.
So I wanted you to just talk about the leadership of Russell Wilson, right, and the leadership of Eli Manning. Both Super Bowl winning quarterbacks, are good Hall of Famers. Right. And, you know, quite frankly, without patronizing, I'm talking to a Hall of Famer, in my opinion. Oh, wow. You know, and I know you were 4th down away from playing in a playoff game that you never got to play. Right. And we didn't get that done, but I think you've done a lot more with your platform, regardless of that. That means a lot. But Russell Wilson, great leader, Super Bowl champion. Eli Manning, 2-time. I think both really deserving of being. And I think just you know them intimately, and I think just sharing some of their leadership style and things you might have learned from them.
Right. Oh man. So one word that highlights both of them: consistency. In their style. Consistent. I mean, you can lose so much credibility if you're like this. You know, I was a lot like that as a player. You know, that's why I never got that C on my chest. I didn't understand that until Chicago. Like, consistency is key. Even when you're having bad days, it's okay to come and say, guys, this is where I'm at right now. So they give you the grace and they understand, but you got to be able to communicate that. Russell Wilson, self-talk. That's the first thing that jumps out to me. Positive.
Mm-hmm.
We're down 30. We're going to find a way. Coming out to practice, let's find a way to get better. We're going to be better today. Never forget flying in from a game. I think it was the playing against the Arizona Cardinals in Phoenix. Midnight, we land. Let's get a head start on next week. Let's go hit the hot tubs, cold tubs, hit the recoveries, watch a little film, and everybody's going home. And it's just Russell and I in there. And I'm like, finally, this at the end of my career. And my body hurt, man. This ankle, man, it just can't. Yes, stop. Your self-talk is terrible. Like this dude, when you talk about being positive, you talk about just sports psychology. Oh man, he is one of the best in the world at it. He, like what you see on television, that's truly who he is all the time. Mm-hmm. Not only in sports, that's how he is in business, right? Because Russ is very savvy businessman. You see him like that with his kids, his wife, positive. Negative, and that type of culture just deteriorates everything you're doing.
Sure.
So like for Russell Wilson, that's what jumps out to me. Is his energy that he brings every day and how positive he is and how it trickled down to everybody that he touches.
When I recruited him at NC State, I gave him a third round grade as a passer, and only because he was 5'10".
Right.
Because nobody was playing other than Frank. I mean, I thought he would be the reincarnation of Frank Tarkenton, which nobody
really?
on the podcast will remember. But I gave him a first round elite grade in charisma, because I've never been around anybody quite like him.
Right.
So let's go to Eli.
Eli.
Yeah.
Consistency.
Because he's kind of he's been stealth kind of his whole career. You don't really know much about him in New York, but won a lot of games and he won 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
So
I would say Eli may be a lot like you in the culture that you implemented in Chicago. I wouldn't even say the culture, is more so like your approach, your philosophy. It's, I'm sitting down and having breakfast and Coach Trestman sits right next to me, right? Like, hey, how you doing? How's Vichy? How's the kids? Well, hey, Coach. That's counterculture, right? Eli Manning, quarterback, set apart. Where's Peyton? I'll talk about Peyton. Where's Peyton Manning? Peyton Manning's in there watching film, breaking down. Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre, where are these guys at? Did you see them today? Oh, here they're coming out the practice field. I'm just saying that. I'm not putting those guys in the box like that, right? But that's how we see them as athletes.
Yes.
Like, that's the quarterback.
Sure.
Eli Manning coming there in the cafeteria, sitting in the same spot every day. You can see a running back next to him, defensive lineman, coach, janitor.
Right.
It's like just one of the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Like Eli Manning was one of the guys, but super consistent, professional, took care of business. But the thing that jumps out to me outside of that was like the relatability part. How he connected with everyone. He knew everybody's name, right? Just the ultimate pro. But the consistency is the thing with him. He says a routine. He won't break routine. He put a routine in place. This is what I need to do to be able to be the best quarterback, to be the best friend, to be the best teammate. Right? And he did those things. Mm-hmm. Go on the road with Eli. Hey, Eli, we're going to go to dinner. I got my massage. Can't break routine, right? After we can do this, or before, maybe next week. Mm-hmm. But he had a routine. And I think that's the thing that stood out the most when I played with Eli, outside of him just being a great guy. Yeah. He really was a great guy. He is a great guy.
Yeah. Let's jump back to Chicago. You kind of hit on some things. I didn't want to make Chicago the focal point, but I did have a couple of things to ask. And you talked about maybe being ahead culturally, at that time. But I still want to grow and get better as a leader. So I'm coming to you and saying, you had an experience. We spent 2 years together. how can I be a better leader? Share that with me from your perspective.
Yeah, I would go back to probably, the conversation we had earlier. I mean, I think that, in sports, and especially in football, you're taking the best of the best from around the country and you're putting them into one locker room in one little building. As players, as coaches, and everybody they have their own way. This is how we do it. This is my philosophy. This is my approach. So really, I just think that your approach, your philosophy, dead on. It's perfect. It's what we all need. But coming in and infusing that, right, it's really meeting guys where they're at, right? Like where we have some guys in the locker room, and I played a part in this. There was a couple of moments that we could probably talk about where I was like, now looking back, I'm like, dang, I gave Coach a tough time. But
we're going to talk about that too.
Oh, you want to do that? Okay, we can do that. It just really is that. It's like, man, I don't know if we would put this in there, but I remember seeing a guy in the middle. I've never seen this before. In the middle of a play, we're out there about to run a play, and just start screaming loud and laying on the ground, not at their position. I've never seen anything like it. Just going out their way to just be disruptive because they didn't understand, that there was another way of doing things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so honestly, I don't even know if I can, I don't know how you do that. I don't even know if I can give you an advice on what I believe you could have done or what you can do to be an ultimate leader, because to me, you did it. And it's really about, because when you come in as a coach, it's important for any leader to, for people to embrace change and to rally. And so the tough part is in sports is sometimes these athletes make more than the coach, right? And sometimes these athletes, it's just a different business. You got these alphas, that no, I'm gonna do it my way, no matter. And so it can be really hard on, general managers. It can be really hard on head coaches, defensive coordinators, new positions. I was a guy that was used to it because I played for Coach Shanahan, and then Coach McDaniels came in. Then I had Tony Sperano. He got fired. Then I had Todd Bowles. Then from there, I went to Chicago, had Lovie Smith. Lovie got fired. Then I had Coach Trestman, right? So, I was used to that. That environment, just my time being around you in Chicago as a leader, they only knew one way. Coach Smith was there, 9 years?
That, Brandon, I think it's something to share with our audience is that what I learned is that I took over for a very successful head coach who, in my opinion, should have been fired anyways. Right? And the players that were there were very loyal to him.
That's right.
And so when you take over a job with pre-existing players and, as you said, big personalities, what I didn't do is I didn't spend enough time. I didn't have the sense or whatever it might be to spend time with those 4 or 5 guys that arguably were just committed to Lovey's style of coaching. And if it's easy to look back, but we all make mistakes. We want to grow. And that's why I want to be open with, because I think there's a lesson to be learned when you move into a leader position with pre-existing people. My thought is never just to bring in new people.
Right.
My thought is I want there to be time for transformation. Right. I don't think I spent enough time with those people.
Right.
Where Elshon got it, Kyle got it, Matt got it, you got it. I spent a lot of time at Martellus's house because he was so that's just kind of, I want to close on it, but that's how I feel people, that's what I learned, more importantly that. And then by the time I got to it, things went south.
Right. No, that's really good. I mean, I think I'm in that. I don't think you ever stop growing and learning as a leader. I mean, you got to always stay on top of it. You always got to be connected with your people and your audience or whatever space you're in. And you got to be intentional every single day. It's I'm in it right now, and I make mistakes a lot, and I was around some amazing leaders. some people that did it really well and I learned a lot from it. Some people that did it extremely poorly and I learned a lot from it.
I mean, we're all, as leaders, we're always learning. I always try to, at the end of the day, when I turn the light off, I just apologize to myself and say I did the best I could.
Right.
But, you know, going back to those guys, the other side of leadership is you got to know when to cut the ropes.
There you go.
You know, and I think that as I look back, was there a time where I could have said, you know, we have to move on. We gave them a chance. And I'm the eternal optimist at times. And although I've never had a hard time making the tough decisions, which I think in a leadership position, as you know, you have to make, you know, I didn't do it at that time. Life lessons. So let me flip the switch.
Okay.
I go to practice one day and, you know, there's a reason why we practice. You do it in your business. Why do we dress a certain way? And one of my players showed up in tights.
What?
Look, yeah, he showed up in tights. He looked like he was ready to run a 100-yard dash.
Just tights?
Just tights. No jersey. And I remember like we were indoors, blue tights. And
unbelievable.
So can you talk about that? You were there that day, right?
What? Well, I don't recall a player just showing up in tights because that was against the rules. Well, we had a dress code and you had to have on shorts.
Right. So, you know, I believe that you're not just Gen Z or you know, millennials, you're Generation Y, WHY. So the reason why we dress, because we practice like it's a game.
Right. So
we need to dress like it's a dress rehearsal for the game.
Right.
And so you showed up in tights.
It was me?
Yes.
Knowing that it was against the rules.
Right. So, you know, we went through that. There was a drama that day, right?
There was a lot of drama.
And you tested me that day. You probably didn't think you were, but
no,
I had 60 other guys dressed exactly right, and you showed up. Can you take me through that? Because I think that goes to who you were then and who you are now and how we worked through it. Do you remember?
Well, first, I'm still that guy.
Okay.
I'm still at first. Let me say this. I apologize.
You did the next day.
Yeah, but that was like I still didn't understand. I still didn't understand the magnitude of what I was doing and how that was affecting our team, and also cutting your legs from underneath you, right? So I apologize, and the reason why I apologize is because right now I have a Brandon Marshall on my team, and I always tell this guy, like, so you're a receiver, you're a diva, and you're Brandon Marshall, you're T.O., you're all these guys, all right? I'm gonna give you a little space, and it's really around dress code. Like, we have a uniform, right? A lot of cameras on this House of Athlete there, but you want to do this, you want to do that. It's like, I get it. Trust me, I get it. I was that guy. Still am that guy. But you got to understand the why behind it. And so for me, first off, I come there and I'm just, so I wake up that day and I'm just like, so tired. I want to dress this way. I want to, the swagger, like I want to dress this way. I want to, like, it's important to me to do things my way. How I dress, I don't get it. But to your point, why? Like, I don't get why I have to wear shorts I don't get it. This is how I did things before. It was never a problem. I don't understand it. And for a long time, I followed the rules. This one day I wake up and I'm just like, man, forget this. There's a lot going on.
Right.
And I come out there and I remember you're like, Brandon, you got to check. I don't even think you came up to me. Everybody's like, what are you doing?
Well, I just felt, and maybe you can help me with this, is I didn't feel a confrontation was the way to go about doing it.
Right.
I thought we could, T-Mad, was our trainer, our equipment guy, he had a relationship with it. And he was really responsible, just like the officials are before a game,
That's right.
for making sure everybody was game ready.
That's right.
Right? And you turned the corner and you found a way to go back in.
No, I did not. No, that's
you
not
didn't?
true. That's not true.
Okay.
So I come out there and I'm a distraction. I'm being disruptive. I'm being
Completely.
a terrible teammate.
Terrible.
terrible. And everybody's just looking at me. And I'm like, no, I'm dug in. I'm wearing my tights. T-Mad comes to me. Our offensive line coach comes to me. Coach Coach Cromer comes to me, Brandon, what are you doing? Probably Matt and Roberto Garza comes up to me like, what are you doing? No, I'm wearing my tights. You're not practicing. You need to go in and change. And I probably stood there for about 20 minutes being disruptive and being a distraction, not knowing what I was doing, right? Like, I knew I was like, it was a disruption, but I didn't understand how that could impact our team that week, that game, for the rest of the year, right? And so that's one of those moments that I would love to have back. You know, that's because, you know, now I'm in this position and it happens to me and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Is that borderline personality? Was that a feature of borderline? Like, you've talked about mental illness and you talk about borderline. So maybe you can just spend a minute. What is borderline?
I think so borderline personality disorder is an emotional disorder.
Okay.
And the best way to describe that is being able to self-regulate your emotions. We all may feel the way the way we feel may be valid, but do you have the skills and tools to be able to get yourself back down to baseline? There was other guys out there that wanted to wear tights, that did it a certain way before, that wanted to wear certain colors, cleats, but they were able to work through that, to self-regulate. I don't like this, but I know these are the rules. I need to do that, right? So I think it was a mixture of both. It was how I'm wired a little bit. That's why I say I'm that guy, right? Like, you know, it's this individual, but within a team, and understanding how to do both, like to be an individual within a team setting.
Right.
That was tough for me, right? And that was a day I chose, like, no, I'm gonna be an individual, right? So I think that, you know, there's just my makeup and who I am, but then there's the other side of just being able to control the situation, make the situation better, and that's where the borderline personality disorder comes in at, right? Is in that moment, seeing all eyes on me. We have 50-something guys out here, 20 coaches out here, we have staff. I know I'm not supposed to be wearing my tights, but I'm sitting here for 20 minutes. I mean, immediately, first of all, I should have never came out there with just tights. That's first. Second, okay, you did it. You out there. Now T-Mad came to you. Now Cromer came to you. We're 5 minutes in this thing. Is it time to go back in? Right? But what I was doing, I was dug in. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to practice. And you're like, you're not going to practice like this, right?
Did I say that to you?
No, you didn't. But it pretty much that was it. And I was like, well,
do you think I did the right thing by sending Team Matt over to you as opposed to walking up to you and confronting you?
I think this is the tough thing about leadership is like, you got so much, you know, so much responsibility, so much you got to handle, right? Like, we're talking about freaking shorts, something so petty. Like, I need to be able to lean on T-Mad. I need to be able to lean on T-Mad to handle this. This is why you're in place. This is your job. You are the uniformed police, right? I need you to be able to do that. I need my guys to be able to, when I set the standard, I need my guys to follow. These are the rules. Come up to me if you dislike them. Let's talk about them. Open door policy, right? So, no, it wasn't your responsibility because you already laid the rules out. But I think, you know, I think what you could have done differently, right? And this is a lesson for so many people is sometimes there's some unique cats out there, right? And like now I'm dealing with it right now. This dude is special, right? And I'm having these same conversations. So when can I give a little bit? Should I give a little bit? Or when do I lay the hammer down? Maybe come up to me, Brandon, you are not practicing because you know the rules. All right? So if you want to go over there and pout, fine, but this thing is going to continue to move forward. And now that's a lesson not only for me, but that's a lesson for everybody watching.
Did you practice that day? Do you remember?
I think I ended up going, didn't I go? Oh yeah, I went in and changed, put my shorts on.
And practice. That's what I'm saying.
Right, as I did. But here's, I did, right? Yeah. So yeah, I just think that, you know, it's tough because I do it now. Like our team right now, everybody parks in the back.
Mm-hmm.
That is the rule. But coach, I put that rule in place 6 months ago. You know how I feel every day. I pull up to our facility and I see my coaches parking in the front. That was for our members. It's for our athletes. I said that in a team meeting. It's so frustrating. And that's why I apologize. And that's why I say it's one of those moments I want to have back because I didn't know what I was doing then. Like I know like, Brandon, he might say something, do something, right? Like that's who Brandon is at that point in his life. You know, now being in your shoes, I'm like, holy crap, this is a lot, right? Because that's simple. Those are fundamentals. Right?
Do you think you can have? You use the term rules. I use the term standards because rules are do's and don'ts. And when you have do's and don'ts, now there's loopholes to do's and don'ts,
right.
And there's sanctions for do's and don'ts. And then you got to monitor the people because somebody's always trying to find the loophole of the do's and don'ts.
Right.
And then you got to make new rules. You see what I'm saying?
That.
But standards
right.
is about who we are. It's a standard of excellence, right? Who we are is when we practice, we're going to practice like we play the game, so we're going to be dressed properly. You know, our standard, we don't have a rule to pick up garbage off the floor in the airplane. We have a standard because there's immigrants coming on the charter at 2:00 in the morning, and why should they get on their hands and knees to pick up after multi-million-dollar athlete and coaches?
It doesn't,
right, and we're sending a message that we care about them and we respect them, right? Those are not rules. Nobody's going to be there with a pen and a clipboard saying, Brandon, pick up. Because if you do that, you can't focus on the most important thing, and that's winning the games. Right. So you're creating an environment of standards so you can have an opportunity to win the game, and you win as an extension of the standards, right? That's right. The language to me is important. Because a rule, we got a rule. These are our 5 rules. Well, now somebody's got to monitor it all the time. Right. A standard is how we behave. This is how we're going to do it. And you know what? We're going to respect our clients by giving them the closest parking places to the door. They shouldn't have to walk around the building. That's why we do it.
That's right.
You know. So and did I make myself clear? Or whatever it is, right. You know, and you go from there. We've been talking a long time. I think we're going to have to go 2 parts. We may have to do a series.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. But I mean, you're always teaching, right?
Right.
The language and rules.
Yes.
The standards. I love that.
Yes. So let's close it down though a little bit here and finish with a couple of thoughts. You would look around and go, man, Brandon's really having some success. Right. I mean, look, he's got this, for people that don't know, this amazing podcast. You've got nearly 1 million subscribers now in a year?
Yeah. It's
probably one of the most heartfelt podcasts I've ever heard. Guys, if people really want to know what's in the heart of professional athletes, I ran across Ocho Cinco, wouldn't remember, but we tried to get him in Oakland when he was a premier player, you know, and you've got other people in there all the time. Really stuff that comes from the inside of what being a professional is all about. And it is so authentic and so real. You got this beautiful building. You're on national TV every week and have been for a while. I mean, some people would say, got a beautiful wife who's your partner, leader, right? And beautiful family. I mean, a lot of people say there's a lot of success going on here.
Right.
I don't want you to define it now, but what's it going to look like in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Have you thought about that? Maybe it's too long a vision.
No, I have.
Okay.
I will say this, right? Being transparent, this is the hardest thing that I've ever had to do, that I've ever done in my life, right? And that's lead. And that's every single day being consistent, everything that we talked about. So we are having a lot of success, and we will hit our goals. But I mean, it's amazing to talk about those red tights because, you know, that's the stuff. That's the hard part, you know. And how do you manage that? How do you know, when I walk in here and I'm like, man, I talked about this 6 months ago. We talk about this every week. But why are we still on this? So it's it's tough for me right now because, there's the amazing things that we're doing, but at the same time, you got to be consistent in your message. You got to be consistent in your behavior and what those standards are, being able to communicate what those standards are. So, I want to be honest there, but I'm up for the challenge, and I'm always seeking, new ways to do things or listening, and just being open to, people pouring into my life to say, Brandon, maybe you can try it this way, right? And that's why I'm confident that we'll make it.
Listening is key.
Yeah.
Why listening to your, one of your trainers tell you why he can't park in the back, but he's going to park in the front, being able to understand where his thinking comes from.
Yeah.
Being able to listen to that and getting advice.
Yeah. He told me his truck was too big. And I said, well, my truck is bigger than yours. And I'm on this side, right? But 10 years from now, Coach, I truly see, on the media side, creating a extremely successful business around content and commerce, a safe place for athletes, where we're creating these spaces where they can share their stories, they can create their own stories, right? And then on the brick and mortar side, creating a safe place for athletes where they can come in and get everything they need, right? And that's holistically, that's mentally, that's physically, that's spiritually. So House of Athlete, bringing in these athletes and taking care of them. And that's not only pro athletes, that's everybody. Like, you're an athlete in my mind if you just think that way, if you just want a routine, if you just want to be a little bit better and healthier. So that's what I see in 10 years from a business standpoint, dual approach, right? To me, it's a family business, but there's going to be opportunities to potentially IPO. There's going to be opportunities where people may want to buy private, a private company can come in and say, we want to buy this thing, right? I already gotten those offers.
Sure.
So I think those opportunities are going to come, but I'm more focused on, how do I connect on the human level with each individual that's a part of our plan and our program.
That's really your
Trying
definition.
to help.
That's success.
And that's tough for me though, like if I'm being honest, because like when you sit down with these investors now, it's what's the exit plan? What's the exit plan? I didn't get in business for that. I believe if you do good, you get good. But I got in business to really impact people and help people transform the way they think and the way they live and the way they take care of themselves, the way they eat, the way they sleep. That's why I got in this business, right? So
let's answer some of these questions. Just finish the line. If I wouldn't have been a pro football player, what would I have done at 25?
Entrepreneur.
Any area?
I didn't know at 25 what my purpose was then, so I knew it would have been in business. I was cutting grass, I was selling candy, car washing, so it would have been definitely entrepreneur.
Give that 15-year-old who's just starting 9th grade some advice. The times that you were getting ready to go to college and you had to set your calendar and things like that, your academic calendar. Give him some advice of the things you've learned. Tidbits, so to speak.
What you do today is going to affect how people view you tomorrow, right? And what happens tomorrow. So be intentional in everything you say, everything you do. You will make mistakes, but understand that character is important.
It's February 2022. Who's in the Super Bowl?
Oh, February 2022. Who's in the Super Bowl? I hate to do this. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Been talking about this team for years. Oh, it's America's team. They're going to be great. Something special is happening in Dallas.
Well, Dan Quinn's helping.
That
My
defense.
friend Dan Quinn is helping, and they got a tremendous quarterback.
How do you go from a historically bad defense last year, and all of a sudden Dan Quinn comes in? And that's what I mean. It's easy to talk about on the offense. Dak Prescott comes back recovering from, this fracture. Before he got hurt, week 6 of last year, they were averaging 400. You would love that. 498 yards of offense. Yeah. So they just picked up where they left off.
Right.
Defensively, they're turning the ball over. They're getting to the quarterback. They got guys flying around. You didn't see that. So that's why I'm saying there's something special happening in Dallas, and it starts on that defensive side, which is unexpected because last year.
They're just not going to play the schedule that some of those teams out west have to play every week.
That's right.
You know, they have the backbone to be able to handle it at the end. But I like it.
Right.
I like that team.
And a couple weeks ago, they got the running game going
Yeah.
too a little bit. They can run it, they can throw it. It's special. All right, AFC. I mean, they still have, you have Green
Yeah.
Bay last
Yeah.
dance with
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers,
Yeah.
and you have, Tampa. They'll be there. It's going to be interesting. AFC. I mean, coming into this year, I would have said Kansas City easily.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big fan of Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
But man, Patrick Mahomes is special. Dang, coach, this is a tough one. I'll go with Kansas City. I mean, they're going to figure it out. I'll go with Kansas City, but there's some chinks in the armor.
Yeah, there are.
In the armor this year.
There are.
Yeah.
Let me close with this. Brandon Marshall, I love you, and I respect you, and I wish you nothing but the best.
I love you and I respect you. Thank you, coach.
Thanks go out to our executive producer, Greg Levy, Associate Dean and Director of the Entertainment, Arts, and Sports Law program at the University of Miami School of Law. I want to also thank our engineer and editor, Christopher Elzadi, our theme music from Calyptra, and special acknowledgement to our research assistant, Nick Rossi, a fellow attorney and student who's done a great job in our preparation.